Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Mike J. This is the Nerdcast, where we're going to be talking about all things like nerd and geek culture and just kind of like, trying to do something that is a little less black pilling and a little less stress oriented. So we're going to be the Nerdcast usually involves talking about things like video games, video game culture, film, comic books, but sometimes we go into other stuff, maybe science fiction, maybe we'll get into art, because all of this is kind of related. So it's all in the creative sphere, and I'm all about that. So, all right, with all that out of the way, let's get into our stories. So first, I wanted to do Black Panther 2 first, I think. Is that okay? Sure. Yeah, because it's kind of, yeah. All right, so Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. There are some plot leaks and spoilers. So if you are planning to watch the film, I'm just warning you that I guess we're going to learn some spoilers. I was not planning on watching the film. I'm not even all that really interested in learning the plot, but I'm going to do this for you, but also because I might have some things to say about it, because I used to be, when I was younger, I was a huge fan of Marvel Comics, and more than that, I was a huge fan of both the Black Panther as a character as well as Namor, not Namor, but Namor as a character. And my belief is that, they fucked it up. So, just based on what I know. But let's see. All right. Thanks to...
Hey, Brian, I can hear your phone vibrating.
Oh, yeah. Let me put this over. Sorry about that. Thanks to a source close to Marvel, I have the full plot of Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. Do not read if you don't want the movie spoiled. You have been warned. So the movie opens up with Black Panther dying off screen and Shuri trying to replicate the heart flower that gave Black Panther his powers. Remember, the flowers were destroyed by Killmonger. Remember that, guys? Did you see that in the first movie?
Remember that?
I remember that. If Shuri could replicate the flower, she would be able to save his life. But she's unable to do so, and T'Challa dies. 1 year later, and the world thinks Wakanda is defenseless without the Black Panther to protect it, and other countries are trying to steal the Wakanda vibranium reserve. So, of course, the colonizers are going to colonize, and immediately going to come...
That's so weird, like... I'm trying to think like what a good parallel would be for like the U.S., but I can't. It's like if our biggest aircraft carrier was destroyed, would the rest of the world suddenly think, "Hey guys, America's defenseless. Let's go get them."
Yeah, right.
Like, don't they still have massive amounts of this vibranium, and aren't they actively creating weapons for their standing army?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, their greatest warrior went down. Their defense. No, they're not.
Yeah, I know. It's
just so weird.
It's silly, and it's not even like this. The thing is, one could probably make the argument that it's silly in a comic book way, like that in a comic book you could see them doing the same, but that's not really the case. I think that when I read Black Panther comics way back in the 70s and 80s, and it was like there was some logic that was being exercised. So, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to give it an aesthetic, because that's what it is. It's like an African aesthetic, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to know like all African history of every tribe and then like make sure that it's accurate. Like that's not really necessary. As long as you're like capturing the aesthetic or the essence of whatever the culture is, whether that is African in the case of Black Panther, or if it's like something else, right? Boda asked, did you guys have an issue when they made Aquaman Polynesian? I think that they. I mean, I think that
tiny
they.
bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little annoying because we know Aquaman's like one of the whitest guys, in DC Comics. But I think that what they were doing was they were trying to create more interest in Aquaman because he's like the butt of so many jokes that go way back, and he has like this image that they're trying to like correct, I think. And so they made him like the sexiest guy they could find. Right? That's
Yeah.
why. That's why.
And that just happened to be Jason Momoa.
Yeah. That was basically what the purpose was, because all of a sudden everyone who used to make fun of Aquaman, the guys didn't really say anything because he looked pretty intimidating, and the girls they liked Jason Momoa. So I don't know that swap or change was necessarily for like woke points. I think it was.
I'm trying to imagine like Aquaman's like traditional look in the DC,
Yeah, he had short blonde hair,
the glob of blonde hair with the little curl and that perfect mix of the industrial orange and like pea soup green.
Yeah.
Cells. I am from the ocean.
Yeah, it basically says I am a man of the sea. But I think, look, and I like that Aquaman. Like I'm not. I like the old school blonde, short haired, like what would you call it?
Riding dolphins everywhere.
Yeah, riding dolphins and giant seahorses. But I don't think that I don't think they did it for those reasons, because DC wasn't exactly on that train at that stage. So those are just my thoughts. But going back to Black Panther and Submariner or Namor or whatever. So Black Panther is killed off screen. Okay. And I guess they had to do that because they needed a way to explain why there's no Black Panther. But I think it's really
without
weird.
The actor.
Yeah, without Chadwick Boseman. But I think it's really weird though, because that John Hurt, I think his name is. I could be wrong, but he was the guy who played Thunderbolt Ross in the first couple of Hulk movies, and he was in Civil War, and I believe his name is John Hurt. I could be wrong though, but I know who he is. He's a good actor. He's been in a lot of shit, and he died as well, and under similar, I think it was similar circumstances. Like he got sick and died, but they recast him. Like they just recast him.
Yeah,
I think
you wouldn't necessarily even need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see where you're getting at. Like they could have just recast him for someone else, but I don't even think they would have had to go that far. Like I don't know if you know what they did with Val Kilmer in Maverick.
Well, I watched Maverick. Thought it was pretty great.
So Iceman, Val Kilmer's character, he's in the movie, and they like explain how he's like, he's suffering from this advanced cancer. He can barely talk. Well, that's actually what's going on with Val Kilmer in real life right now.
Yeah.
And when he like does manage to kind of struggle out a few words to Maverick, that was basically stitched together digitally from Val Kilmer's, scads and scads of performances from various movies. And like they totally could have done that, because I mean, all you would need to have is a guy in a suit, and you could just say, you could just easily say, oh, that's Black Panther right there. And then, use the past couple of movies he's been in to digitally stitch together some voice lines. And you could have totally like given him like a heroic death or something like that, or at least a setup other than just, oh yeah, he died a couple of days ago.
Yeah, off screen, it was terrible.
Yeah,
so tragic,
horrible. Total bitch of a situation, man.
Well, I think that they wanted the death of Black Panther to be much more significant than it was. Like I mean, it's like they're making this into a much bigger deal that they don't need to. And I know why. I think it's it's obvious. I know why they're doing it, but it cheapens everything in a way.
Yeah.
Because like I thought that Chadwick Boseman was a fine Black Panther. I thought that he did well playing the character. Even in his own movie where he basically takes a back seat for like most of it and doesn't really do much except like get involved with a battle he can't possibly lose because of the technology he's got against Killmonger, and they're just kind of bouncing around because nobody can hurt the other guy, and it's really bad CGI and everything. But they didn't address what makes the Black Panther character awesome, and it's basically like it's his personality, it's his nobility, it's his ability to like judge a situation. Like he's not just like a warrior, right? He's sort of like, I always call him the Afro Ninja. That's what he is, right? And but they don't like they didn't capture that at all. And instead it was just about we got our black superhero and he's the best and he's the greatest and that's it. And then when he passed, they were like, we're going to make a sequel and we're going to double down on that. And I don't think it's enough. Like, this is why so many people who they feel like they're being told how to feel about the passing of Boseman, and then by extension, how to feel about Black Panther. For example, the first Black Panther was nominated for an Oscar. It was nominated for an Oscar, guys. It's not that good. It's not. It's like it, but Hollywood thought the film was so important that they wanted to award it, or at least nominate it for an award. And of course,
they wanted it to become like a revolution,
Yeah, like a cultural phenomenon. And I was sitting there going, yeah, but the movie's just okay. It's not even that great, and there's a lot of like moral problems with it. Where they're essentially like kind of celebrating the villain who wants to genocide white people. And I'm starting to think, I don't know what this movie's about. We're gonna get back to the plot synopsis, but like I'm starting to think that this is like, I don't know, just the way that they think of movies that star blacks. It's just got to be content like this, and I think that is really shallow, and I hope that no one falls for it. But we'll see if it makes any money, because they're certainly being told it's an important film. That's what they're being told. That's what everyone is saying. You better buy tickets to this because this is it. This is our this is our I don't know, like civil rights movement of 2022 is you buying a ticket, giving it to a black person and going to this movie somehow. All right, but anyway. So the movie opens with Black Panther dying off screen. If Shuri could replicate the flower, she would be able to save his life, but she's unable to do so, and T'Challa dies. A year later, and the world thinks Wakanda is defenseless, right? So the white people come. We see a French Special Forces unit attack a Wakandan science center.
There they are. Remember, we said the evil white man is going to come and try to plunder the riches.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, they're using very specific like language. They're calling the French a Special Forces unit. So what does that mean? They're basically just soldiers and warriors, and they're probably kind of ruthless or whatever. And they're attacking a Wakandan science center, which is probably nothing but peaceful intellectuals that are just sharing in their knowledge, right?
But no surprise, the scientists are all warriors, and they totally kick the guys' asses, and they hand them over to,
and they drag them in front of the UN.
And there's this big tense moment where the UN's like, "How can we trust you guys with vibranium?" And they're like, "How can we trust you guys? Look at all your soldiers. We're trying to steal our vibranium."
Yeah, exactly. Two snaps up. Um, cut to a Navy boat. They've detected vibranium underwater. Oh wait, what? I kind of jumped ahead. At the
Oh no no
UN.
no that's good that's good. I just said the thing that's
Oh,
at the
okay,
UN. That's what
okay,
they say. And they
okay.
cut to a boat, and then they find the vibranium underwater. But that's where Namor and the Talokans are, and they attack.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Uh,
turns out the Talokans all have like siren powers, and they can
what?
lure men to jump into the water to their deaths.
That. Okay.
And then Namor blows up a helicopter.
Flies up and takes out the one helicopter that almost escapes. Namor then shows up in Wakanda in front of Shuri and the Queen, makes them the remains of the metal detecting machine, or gives them the remains of the metal detecting machine, and says he needs their help to kill the scientist who made it,
And
protect both their
guess
countries.
who's the one that made it? Guess.
Riri
Who's
Williams?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how
Riri
we shoehorn in Ironheart.
Riri Williams. So Shuri and Okoye somehow trace the machine to Riri Williams and go to try and bring her to safety, but someone tips off the cops. Big escape sequence from the cops. Yeah, because the cops are a real big threat to Wakandan bald-headed warrior bitches. But
Swear to God, they did the exact same scene in the first movie. Like
yeah,
I can visualize it. I can see it.
yeah, they did. Yeah, yeah, it's boring. Like this sounds really boring. Riri has an experimental Iron Man armor at this point, but gets yanked out of the air by Talokan cable spear thing. Riri, why would?
Ryan.
I'm sorry. Go
Ryan,
ahead. Yeah.
would have been really funny. Like
Mm-hmm.
during the big old escape scene, like the cops were like, "Oh, we got to go after him," and one of them was like, "Wait a minute. Was it a really tall, black, bald woman, well dressed, wielding a spear?" Yeah, how'd you know? We gotta. Don't even waste your time, dude. You're not gonna catch her.
Yeah. um, that would have been preferable, I think.
Would have been at least a little self-aware.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Shuri and Okoye somehow trace the machine to Riri Williams, right? Big escape sequence from the cops. Talokans show up on the bridge to fight Okoye. Riri has an experimental Iron Man armor at this point, but gets yanked out of the air by Talokan cable spear thing. Which, why would the like these underwater dwellers, these deep sea dwellers, why would they have a spear cable thing when they can swim everywhere? And
Shouldn't
why
it at
would
least be like a trident and a net? That would make
yeah, well,
sense.
that's more, in line with the comics. Like, yeah, that they would have
Yeah.
spears, tridents, and nets, and maybe I feel like there's something else that they usually.
Maybe they're like trying to pass this off like a spear gun.
Do they ride any animals? Because you need to ride animals. They
I need to
should.
see one gigantic seahorse.
Yeah, they need to be on giant seahorses or maybe a nautilus. You know, that's what, but I don't think we're gonna get that. And that's the thing. Like, it doesn't have any imagination. It's all about whether or not the plot and what happens in the plot serves the purpose of whatever Ryan Coogler is trying to get to. And I think that everything just seems to be like a bridge. Like, okay, we need you to go here. We need you to meet the water people. We need you to meet Riri Williams. We need you to do, and you're all going to be friends, right? Because I know that, well, as far as I know, Namor is not their enemy. I mean, he doesn't end up being their enemy. He probably starts
keep
off
reading
that
it.
way.
Keep reading it.
All right. Big escape, right? Riri has okay, I already read that. Riri and Shuri get taken to Talokan. Okoye gets fired by the Queen. Wait, you can get fired? For allowing Shuri to get kidnapped. Wakandan Queen goes and visits Nakia, never seen before, and asks her to help rescue Shuri, we later learned that this was Black Panther's secret lover. Oh, really? So he was cheating? Black Panther was cheating on his girlfriend? Like he has a oh my god. This is like these are like the oh my god. This is so annoying because it's like he's like the black man of the movie and they're essentially making it to where he ain't shit. Like they're literally I can't believe it. Like I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at this point if he didn't have like an illegitimate kid that he didn't raise. I feel I'm telling you.
Keep reading,
okay.
Brian.
Namor shows Shuri his magic underwater city and asks her to ally with him, but she won't agree to killing Riri, so they are at an impasse. Nakia shows up and saves them both, pissing off Namor. Namor then attacks Wakanda, drowning the queen. So the queen
dun.
So the queen is dead. That's Angela Bassett. Shuri starts researching how to defeat Namor, and from the weird Talokan bracelet he gave her, she figures out how to replicate the Black Panther heart flower. Huh? What?
Why not? What? Just keep going. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it.
All right, whatever. That is retarded. It's like none of the things that we're supposed to consider special in these stories are special at all. They've been doing this since basically like they've been doing this since in Infinity War, I think, where you used to like I remember in Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, okay, there was the orb, which was basically the one of the Infinity Stones. But at the time, no one knew, anything about that. And then they clarified and said it is an Infinity Stone, and I think it was like the Stone of Power, the purple one in the movies, and the Stone of Power. They said you can't touch it because if you touch it, it'll destroy you. You have to be like a really, really powerful being, whatever that means, to be able to do that. And so Thanos was able to hold it in his hand for briefly, right? Because he's Thanos. But it was like it was very painful and hard for him to do. And I don't think he started doing it until the end, after he was going around getting them all. And so like that was a big deal. You couldn't just pass it around because they've already said that if you touch it, it's going to kill you, right? And this was a good idea to make it basically like makes it harder for just anyone to pick up. And then like they throw that out and they basically just stop paying attention to it. I mean, like, Tony Stark just had them like at the end of the end game.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it did kill him.
It did kill him when he used it, yes. But like, I mean, I agree with that. There was a cost, but at the same time, this is another thing too. Is that I think I can give you an example that you're going for, like
in oh crap, what was the third Thor movie?
Ragnarok.
Yeah, in Thor Ragnarok, Thor loses an eye.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like sort of a big deal, with his character.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's permanently not disfigured, but permanently handicapped.
Mm-hmm.
And like they continue this into the first part of Endgame.
Yeah. And then they throw it out.
And then eventually it's just a total throwaway where Rocket Raccoon's like, oh, you're gonna need an eye, buddy. I got an eye for you. And it's like, oh, well, okay, all that character development's out the window. He has both eyes again.
Yeah, exactly. They'll do stuff like that. And it's annoying because it's like they don't, I don't know, it's like they don't believe in...
nothing can be special. Nothing can be unique. It's all just kind of it's all the same shit in the end. We can just throw it out the window, substitute one for the other, and we're just gonna keep going on like nothing happened because it don't matter. None of this matters.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you're blind in one eye now, but don't worry, and it really removes all the stakes, and that's been a problem with them.
Because that was a moment where it was very humbling to Thor. It was like very like, oh damn, I'm not immortal. I can die. I can bleed.
It was also symbolically like a parallel to Odin.
Exactly, that too.
So yeah, I mean, anyway, so let's keep going. But I think that I think you get where I'm coming from. It's like stakes don't exist.
The bracelet somehow gives her the knowledge to replicate the flower, and she uses it to make the super juice. And she expects to see her mom in the dream she's having in the ancestral realm from drinking the super juice, but dun dun dun, she sees Killmonger.
What? Wait.
And he's like, you can't be soft. Your brother was soft. You need vengeance. You gotta kill Namor. He killed your mom.
Really?
Yeah.
He challenges her not to be soft like her brother and devote himself to vengeance, or herself to vengeance. He tells her to kill Namor for killing her mother. Shuri wakes up with Black Panther powers and quickly has a suit ready to go. Well, that's nice. Very convenient. She tricks the Talokans with a fake metal detecting device, then ambushes them with a special Wakandan ship. Her plan is to get Namor aboard her ship, where she has a room that will slowly evaporate all the moisture out of his body and make him powerless. Yes, if Namor dries up, he loses his strength, like in the comics. Well, it depends on how...
One thing they kept from the comics.
Yeah, but I don't think it's required for him to dry up. I don't know what that means. Like, we all need to hydrate. But I'll take it.
I think it's like... He's like a fish that, you left in the sun too long.
Yeah, if he's out for too long, then... By the way, this is really, really frustrating. So, Killmonger was a piece of shit, and he banged her mother, so that was like the queen or something? Right? I mean...
I guess.
Who did he bang to have Shuri? Did they say? Like, who is Shuri's mother? So, I don't know. I guess it's got to be in there somewhere, but what we do know is that he is a deadbeat dad.
Let's see, Marvel. Who is Shuri's mother? Okay, now it's switched around.
Yeah.
Because you gotta let's see. Really, is it that hard to get a damn answer?
I don't know.
Ramonda, the queen of Wakanda and the wife of T'Challa, and the mother of T'Challa and Shuri. So
what? Wait, Ramonda is the wife of T'Challa and the mother of T'Challa?
Oh, hold on. The wife. Oh, I read that wrong. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Eyes are getting blurry. T'Chaka.
Oh, so yeah, it's Angela Bassett's character.
Yeah.
That's crazy because why didn't they they saw each other in the first movie? Why was there no reaction, no nothing? They're just adding this shit on. And it's fucking strange because who's Killmonger's mom? Oh, okay, I think I get it because there was like that other guy who was like the brother of T'Chaka, and he was Killmonger's father. But I don't know. This isn't exactly, King Lear or some kind of like Shakespearean, family drama.
Yeah.
This is
they don't even list. They don't even list who Killmonger's mother was.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to just keep going.
His uncle was T'Chaka, and his aunt by marriage technically was the queen.
Yeah. Yeah, who he fucked. So anyway, and she accepted it. All right. So weird.
I mean, I never watched the first movie, so I'll trust you.
Yeah, it doesn't make black men look good, and of course it wouldn't, and they don't think that that's even the case. They probably are just like, yeah, this makes sense. No, I mean, it's. I can see it from somebody like Killmonger, but I don't suspect that there will be any other reconciliation. All right, but let's keep going. He challenges her to not be soft like her brother and devote herself to vengeance. He tells her to kill Namor for killing her mother. Right, so she's got the suit.
And he puts her in the ship with the dry room and tries to dry him out. Meanwhile, Ironheart is, flying around, blowing things up, and CGI battle.
What are they?
Wakandans are fighting the Talokans on the ship, and it's a big brouhaha going around back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then they crash into a desert before all of his moisture's gone.
Okay. Well, that's convenient. And
then she breaks off one of his leg wings so he can't fly.
Yeah. All right. So one leg wing enough to? Well,
I guess he's got to have both of them.
Well,
else he's going to be like doing circles.
Yeah. Well, he's got 4, right? Because he's got 2 on each foot.
Yeah. So I guess she just breaks the ones on one foot.
Maybe both on one foot. And they count it as one. They have a slugfest. Namor impales her on a spear, then stumbles toward the ocean in search of water, but Shuri manages to push herself off the spear because that doesn't hurt really. Attacks Namor. The ship then explodes, setting Namor on fire briefly. He gets seriously burned. Shuri goes to kill him, but then sees visions of all the Wakandans and Talokans she met. Shuri then sees her mom, who tells her to show him who you really are. Show that man. Shuri offers to let him yield, and he accepts. Namor goes back and calls off the Talokans. Everything wraps up. Shuri's the new Black Panther of Wakanda. Blech. She then goes to visit Nakia. Shuri finally burns her funeral clothes that she had refused to do with her mother at the start of the movie and feels T'Challa on the wind and is crying. Mid-credit scene. What?
No. That's it. Wait for it. Read it. Go ahead.
Okay. Mid-credit scene. We see Nakia introduce her son, T'Challa Jr., to Shuri. What? Why?
Yeah.
Oh God. But why would you give someone a very African sounding name and then add Junior to the end like it's some fucking 2D platformer? Like it's T'Challa and T'Challa Jr. Oh God, these people really.
Yeah. And a bunch of just additional details that don't really firmly slot into anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Edgar Ross is arrested for treason. M'Baku shows up to the coronation site to challenge for the throne, telling the crowd the Black Panther would not be showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Namor confirms he's a mutant. What?
We knew that though. Namor is the
Talokan
first
people. Yeah,
he's the first mutant.
The Talokan people all ingested the heart-shaped flower. So they're all the Black Panther.
Oh. Wait,
the Black Panther fish?
Is that why they can breathe underwater? Is that the explanation?
I don't know. I guess it's just the one sentence. And then Namor has flashbacks showing how he rescued slaves from the Spanish, and per the flashback confirms Namor is over 500 years old.
Okay, well,
and that's everything.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to watch it. I'm still not going to watch it, but I was a bit curious. And yeah, it's pretty woke. That it's not for me. That's all I can say. If you guys are interested, go for it. if you think that this is going to be at all worth it, enjoy. Don't let me tell you, how you spend your money. It's your business. But personally, no. This is like, it's just like Marin Ribarik said in the chat, Marvel is dead. Yeah, it's been dead for a long time. I thought it might be funny to read this. And I was basically right about most of my predictions, because in terms of like, how they were going to portray the Submariner / Namor, how they were going to portray the conflict, because I knew it wasn't going to be a real conflict. They were going to make up, because as we all know, black and brown people always get along, and there's never any bad blood between them under any circumstances, because they are united against a real enemy, which is white people. So yeah, that was totally predictable. And yeah, I don't know, like, just not that interested. I don't know. I watched Top Gun Maverick though, and I did enjoy that. And I kind of want to see. There was another movie. It was a Agatha Christie book that was adapted to a film with Period or Perio in it. The character, he's like a Sherlock Holmes type, I think.
I'm not really.
Yeah, Murder. It was like, it's not Murder on the Orient Express, but it's got a similar title.
Oh, it was like on a boat, right? Was it on a boat?
I'm not sure.
Agatha Christie. And you said it began with murder?
Yeah, movie. They made a movie with wow, I'm unable to remember anybody's names.
I'm seeing Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
With Hercule Poirot.
Yeah, Hercule Poirot is it's called Death on the Nile. Thank you, Night Motorcycling. Death on the Nile. Yeah. That's the one. So I heard that was pretty good. So I figure I'll probably check it out at some point. Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express are probably both pretty good. Night Motorcycling says Dave Cullen did a review. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I saw that he did one, but I was already looking at that and like Knives Out, although I don't know if I want to watch that because that's Rian Johnson. But a lot of people did have a lot of good things to say. So maybe as long as he's not touching something that has like cultural significance, he can do well. So
I don't remember where I heard this, and it may not be true, so take this with a grain of salt. But I heard when I was looking at Knives Out, like I think Rian Johnson himself came out and said something like, "Oh, I based all the characters in this movie off of the Trump family."
Oh, right. So that's why they're all pieces of shit.
Yeah, they're all scheming, conniving, horrible, greedy, evil people.
Well, of course. Because that's what all rich people are, except Rian Johnson, who's the number one exception to the rule of, like, shitty rich people.
Well, of course, he had to subvert your expectations.
Yeah, his whole thing is that. All right, Albert Nader Retro gives us $5 Canadian and says, right off the bat, they should have had Daniel Henney, Agent Zero from X-Men Origins Wolverine, should be playing Namor. He looks just like him. I don't know who that is, but
let me post a picture, and that
guy.
To say I'm agreeing.
Yeah, you know what? When I saw the name, I thought to myself, "Are you guys talking about that Asian guy that looks really, really clean? That clean-looking Asian guy?" And yeah, this is the guy. I think he was on. I feel like he was on.
He's on Criminal Minds.
Yeah, he was on like some TV stuff because he's one of these ultra clean Asians. Yeah, so Albert Nader, that probably could have worked, but I certainly think it'd be better than what we ended up with. Albert Nada Retro gives us $5 again, Canadian, and says Avengers Endgame with the last two Spider-Man movies as the epilogue is where my MCU adventures end. They should be building up for Atlantis attacks. Yeah, I mean, I don't care what they do. I'm not going to watch anything. So I don't, not from them. Partly because you shouldn't give money to people who hate you, but also it's not what I grew up with. It's not what I fell in love with. It's just not. There's nothing there now, you know? Anyway, here's a picture of the guy, so you guys can see. Daniel Henney, who, yeah, I think would play... he would be able to pull off a good Submariner. I always thought, when I saw Submariner, I always thought that he would look kind of Asian. Or, if not that, then at least, really exotic. Doesn't... hard to tell what his race is. Because of he's got the eye shape, and his face is a certain shape, and he's got the flat top. But, yeah, I don't know. I think that they were, like I said before, I think they were just trying to cross some boxes, check some boxes. All right, so let's move on. Thank you guys for the super chats. Let me take a look and see if I missed any super chows here, and then we will get into the next story. But I just want to make sure I'm not missing
I don't see
anything.
any new super chows. I think you're good.
All right. So let's get into the next story. We're looking at... This one is... I guess... Yeah, let's do...
Mick Gordon?
Mick Gordon? Is that the...
Doom Eternal?
Yeah, let's do Doom Eternal. So let me put that up on the screen. Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very long. But I did put a link in the description if you guys want to read it. So
the basic gist... I think I can sum it up pretty well, is that Mick Gordon, the composer of the Doom, I believe he did Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal soundtracks, which are, by the way, probably Doom Eternal, one of the finest video game soundtracks ever put together, in my personal opinion. He claims that...
That's kind of a big claim. I mean... I know that Doom Eternal scratches a certain kind of itch, but at first I was willing to just accept that, oh yeah, sure, the soundtracks are great. But then I thought, well, wait a minute, there's a lot of really good soundtracks in video games, but yeah, Doom Eternal is definitely up there. So
Mick Gordon claims that basically, he was kind of, to put not too fine a point on it, fucked over.
Yeah.
Kind of from the word go by
id?
Sort of what happened here. Well, management, id Software, Bethesda, and specifically this one guy that he was working with, id Software studio director, Marty Stratton. And he said, again, Mick Gordon saying this. He said, I didn't want to really do this, but I've been put into a position where I'm going to have to set the record straight now because on May 5th, several months ago, this guy, Marty Stratton, published on Reddit Doom Eternal OST open letter, and kind of sort of threw Mick Gordon under the bus as to why he said there were certain things that weren't done as good. And he goes on to a very lengthy description, Mick Gordon goes into a very lengthy description of why this guy's completely wrong. And he says basically, the long and short of it here is at the beginning, this statement is issued in response to id Software studio director Marty Stratton's Doom Eternal OST open letter, published on Reddit on May 5th, 2020. Marty lied about the circumstances surrounding the Doom Eternal soundtrack and used disinformation and innuendo to blame me entirely for its failure. Afterwards, he offered me a 6-figure settlement to never speak about it.
Oh.
As far as I'm concerned, though, the truth is more important. Marty's Reddit post severely impacted both my professional and personal reputation. In releasing this statement, I'm exercising my right to defend myself. It is a defense, not an unprovoked attack, issued with extreme reluctance only after all other attempts to resolve the matter have failed. This statement is not an excuse for a hate campaign. Acts of hate dished out online won't result in any positive change. In fact, it only makes things worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes out over basically several points, basically listing like how he was working as a contractor, he was never an employee, how contracts were important to this whole thing. Nothing happens without a signed agreement. The difference between an in-game score versus an OST. So the in-game score versus the official soundtrack.
Right.
The fact that he was supposedly or supposed to be paid in minutes, as in-game scores are budgeted in minutes, and a few other points. And again, he goes over, there's a full table of contents. He talks about how there were issues with his pay, how the OST was announced before he was even under contract, how the delay of Doom Eternal affected things, how he wasn't paid for over half of Doom Eternal's score. Or again, this is Mick Gordon's word, so that's him asserting that, not me.
Yeah.
And how it just overall it was a very, very difficult project. How the OST was again delayed before he was again even under contract.
Yeah.
And then the release of the OST, and then he details all of these interactions with this with the studio director Marty Stratton, which they don't sound like they were incredibly good interactions.
No, it doesn't.
And then he provides rebuttals to each of these points that basically have been asserted by, again, this guy Marty Stratton.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because, again, it's a very, very long read, and
it's very thorough.
I mean, yeah, and he basically says, like, I'm documenting this in this incredibly long form version simply because I want to make sure with no uncertainty that everything is out here, everything is spelled out, everything is put forth in such a way that there can be no vagueness about what happened.
Right. And that it's done in such a way that it can't be sort of, his words can't be twisted and events can't be distorted or whatever to make him look bad, because he's putting everything out there.
And this kind of honestly puts it makes me more or less want to believe his side of things, because it doesn't look like he's trying to drag anyone into court. It doesn't look like he's trying to get a payday out of this other than what he believes he's owed for the work he does or has done, or so he said. And he's not trying to turn this into like a some weird sort of Me Too sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, these were the things I was promised, these were the things that I was told to do and work on, and I did all these things, and all these things happened, and this, I wasn't given what I was supposed to get. And on top of all of it, this guy came out and told a whole bunch of lies about me that's impacting my professional and private life, and I need to set the record straight.
Exactly. That's what it sounds like. What were there problems with Doom when it first launched, or Doom Eternal?
None that I remember. Like, I remember a good friend of mine ended up purchasing it for me rather close to the launch date, like maybe a week or two after it was out.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't remember like any crazy problems with it, or any like oh, you can't complete the game because of this glitch or something like that, or anything of that nature.
No. I was that because I'm like trying to figure out like, are they blaming him for something that affected the game because of his music, or maybe he
I
was.
remember they this was again like a kind of a crossed wire sort of thing. They went over his head and ended up changing a lot of the soundtracks, changing a lot of the tracks in the game. And he later went ahead and posted like, that's nice and all, but here's my unmessed with version of the song.
Mm-hmm.
And people kind of seemingly, and I remember this too, thinking like,
I kind of remember that.
Nick's version is better.
Yeah, I think they were sharing it on Twitter or something.
Yeah.
I do remember that. So that's an interesting story. There is a link in the description if you guys are interested in reading the whole letter yourself. But let me ask you something. What do you have like? I don't want to make this too easy, but maybe like a top 3 or top 5 video game soundtracks. Do you?
That's a good one. Doom Eternal's definitely very, very high up there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think, like, because I don't really like have a lot of games that I would sit there and be like, yeah, this soundtrack was really, really good.
It's not easy.
Shadow of the Colossus, that was a one I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember like ones that I actually like.
So that when you were playing,
maybe not purchased, but I went out and like looked for later.
Right. Or like they play in the background. Like when you think of the game, you think of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh,
I remember a really cool thing. One of the DLCs for Far Cry 3 was called Blood Dragon.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I have that. That's great. That like
and
vaporwave soundtrack.
Well, the entire soundtrack was by the techno.
I think that's the name.
I think they're no. I think they're like a techno group. You could call them that. Power Glove.
Yeah, Power Glove. Yes, they
kind of have that sort of new wave, retro, synth wave sort of sound.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought like that really just soaked in neon 80s vibe to that, which was what the whole DLC was going for.
Yeah. No, that shit was dope. That was a good soundtrack. Excellent choice right there. So,
some of the Mass Effect games had really good soundtracks.
Did they? Never played those.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
are they just kind of?
I'd recommend it. Just know that the last hour of the last game is not that great.
Yeah. That's
an amazing soundtrack. Hotline Miami.
Yes, Hotline Miami. That is a great soundtrack.
Hotline Miami got me into so many artists.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh man, again, and they all have that like that 80s synthwave, retro wave sound, like Mitch Murder, Perturbator, Carpenter Brut. Fucking love Carpenter Brut.
Mm.
Moon. So many good songs. And they're Calm Trues. That's another good one.
Yeah, it's really hard, man.
Laserhawk.
It kind of depends on what you're into. Like, I know there are people who I think that they really love the music to some JRPGs, like Final Fantasy, but also what's the one where you're like, is it Persona? Like the Persona series?
They're known for like
the later ones.
Good songs.
Yeah, and some horror games have good soundtracks. Like I think that the Silent Hill.
Silent Hill 2. Hill 2.
Yeah.
That was that was so fucking great. I remember one of my buddies was like, "Hey man, we're going to Hollywood tonight. We're gonna go see a thing." Like, what are you talking about? He's like, "Nah, it's gonna be cool. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it." And it was this thing called Video Games Live, where
Mm.
basically they have like video game music performed by an entire orchestra.
Yeah.
And aside from having the shittiest seats, we're talking like front row, but all the way to the right. But it was great. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god, there was a huge focus on Capcom that year, or not Capcom, no, Konami. So like
Yeah.
they did like the Metal Gear Solid theme from Metal Gear Solid 2. They did a lot of the Silent Hill 2.
Mm.
And they even had the composer for Silent Hill 2 there, Akira Yamaoka, or
Mm.
Yamamoka. I keep forgetting how to pronounce it. But I actually saw him afterward at the meet and greet, and I got his autograph, and he complimented me on my Metallica T-shirt.
Nice. Very cool. Uh, yes, Akira Yamaoka, best OST ever, Silent Hill 1 through 4.
Mhm.
Yeah, very
He
like I
also
said,
worked with Suda 51 to
oh
do
yeah. That the one with
the No
the
More Heroes
killer?
soundtrack,
Oh yeah, the No More Heroes soundtrack, right.
which is a pretty damn good soundtrack in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. And so in the chat I'm gonna comment. Oh, Nier Automata, that's another. It's pretty addicting as a soundtrack. And the original Nier is too. You know, it seems like it's always the same song, but it does have a way of making its way in your brain, and you can't like get rid of it. Um, so
Oh
yeah,
no, I got that wrong. It wasn't. He didn't work on the No More Heroes soundtrack. He just was a big fan of the new No More Heroes soundtrack.
I see, I see.
I knew that didn't sound right when I said it.
So somebody in the chat said Soulsborne games in general have really good soundtrack. I want to mention Soulsborne games, but the thing is, they have really great um, boss fight music, and then there's a couple of like locations.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would say they have very good soundtracks, but for most of the game, you're not going to hear any music at all, and then you're going to come across a boss, and if it's one of the better games, then the boss fight music is amazing. But if it's like Silent Hill 2, then it's probably gonna be pretty forgettable. So, all right.
You want to know what was a good soundtrack, like a goofy, fun little soundtrack?
Hmm. What?
Just take any of the Katamari Damacy games.
Oh, those songs are great.
Yeah.
Those songs are great. I overheard that. Well, I was looking at the chat and I noticed that some people listed games that actually play real songs. Like Def Jam Fight for New York. I wouldn't count that just because it's real music. I mean, you could. I think that they
like the one that I wanted to recommend, like of
like
the similar vein,
Tony Hawk,
like the Tony Hawk games. There's one in particular though. It was for the Wii. It was called Mad World.
Oh, I know that one.
And like they had like a bunch of like they got up like a bunch of like underground hip hop rappers and stuff like that, and like they put together like the most aggressive, angry like hip hop rap music, which fits with the game because the game is just like a Quentin Tarantino style splatterfest of a game.
Yeah. All right. Well,
one last game,
yeah,
and I gotta shout this out. It's a game that came out, well, on like current consoles pretty recently, but it came out yesterday, or not yesterday, sorry, last year on PC. It's called Metal Hellsinger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like a Doom sort of inspired rhythm game, and it's one of those games that the better you perform in game, the better the music gets. And they brought in like a bunch of decently famous heavy metal musicians to do the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of kicks ass. Like the two big ones are Alicia White Glues, who is the female lead singer of Arch Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And probably one of the best female metal vocalists still in it today. And then there's also it also has Serge Tankian on it, who of course was the lead singer for System of a Down. And they've got a bunch of other big names, and like it's got some pretty damn good music.
That sounds dope. What's Boda says, what's the name of that game that lets you customize your character to look like Guts? You have to fight a dragon. Well, that could be a Souls game. That could be Dragon's Dogma.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's what it sounds like. So yeah, my quick old man recommendation is and I know that this is probably not going to resonate with lots of people, but I grew up playing Mega Man, and it's basically one of my favorite games, and I think that it has like some of the easily some of the catchiest music. And I love, like, a lot of people bring up Castlevania because it has great music, or they bring up maybe a Zelda game or a Mario game, and they all have great music. But I don't know, man. The guy who did Mega Man, he broke I'm not even saying Mega Man X, I mean just Mega Man. He broke the bank on that. Like, Mega Man has music that I just absolutely love. So, all right. Thanks, guys, for your comments. I just thought we would have a little chat about that. I did get a... No, I did not. This is something I've already read. All right, so we're going to move on to the last story. Briefly, I guess, if need be. We're going to be talking about Billy Mitchell. So, what do you guys know about Billy Mitchell? And I want you to, you can put your comments on that in the chat, but apparently he's kind of in some deep doo-doo right now, right?
He's trying to put people in deep doo-doo is what
he's trying to put people into deep doo-doo with him.
So I'm gonna throw out some things here that y'all maybe have never heard of. Twin Galaxies, Todd Rogers, and Billy Mitchell. Now, Billy Mitchell is the one most people recognize. He was the sort of, if you could call him this, the antagonist of the documentary The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters.
Yeah.
So,
which, by the way, you can watch that for free right now.
You can watch it for free. It's on YouTube for absolute free. There's like an option to buy or rent it, but like right above that is the entire thing for free. So why the hell would you do that?
Yeah.
So, The King of Kong, and this is all kind of tangential to the story. Trust me, we're going somewhere with this, but it is going to be a long drive. So that was a documentary that started very innocently enough, following this guy, Steve Wiebe, who was just sort of like this everyman sort of guy, this, John Q. Public sort of type, who was like I think it was a high school teacher, has a wife, has a son, has a daughter, and he's just kind of a normal average guy. And one day he decides, I wanna break a world record. And he decides, I'm gonna break the world record for the highest score on Donkey Kong. He starts practicing. He purchases an actual honest to God game cabinet, and he starts getting good at it. And he starts getting good enough to start competing in these tournaments. And that's when he enters this crazy world, the crazy world of video game high record seekers, and it's full of all these crazy people. That's where he gets involved with this company called Twin Galaxies that kind of bills itself as the OG record keeping high score world record organization. Like before Guinness was covering it, they were covering it back in the early 80s, and they were the ones that were kind of, if you wanted to establish a world record, you'd go through them.
Yeah.
And
that's all.
And that's where he meets this guy, Billy Mitchell, who comes off as this hyper serious larger than life, super like imposing, almost Bond villain-esque character who immediately kind of sets himself up to be Steve Weeby's main rival. And they kind of both go back at it back and forth. Like, Steve would get a record.
Is it like Team
Billy
Rocket?
would break it.
Like he would show up randomly and says, prepare for trouble.
Well, he'd be at all these competitions, and the thing is, he was heavily involved with Twin Galaxies, and ultimately, he, like I said, he'd have this rivalry where they would just keep kind of one-upping each other, and like I said, it was funny because Mitchell sort of came off as this very cartoonish sort of villain through kind of doing nothing except being who he is. And it ultimately came to light that he was doing some not super above the board stuff. Like one of the things that's really taboo in this sort of world, I guess you could call it, is using modified boards, and I guess because like everything with the electronics in those big arcade machines comes down to like what looks like a motherboard.
Yeah.
And I guess you can swap those out to play like modified boards, to play ones that are emulated. And there was enough evidence, I guess, gathered to say that he was using a modified board, and he like disputes this up and down, and he's had records removed, he's had records reinstated. And one of the ways he gets, or at least seemingly he gets these records reinstated, is kind of coming down on top of these organizations and being like, hey, I'm going to drag your asses to court if you pursue this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again, not really a good look for him, but he maintains like, oh, all these lies about me, all of these lies and slander are hurting my reputation, they're hurting my proceeds, and they're hurting what I make.
Yeah.
And he's so happy that he is now involved in 3 different lawsuits against a YouTuber. This guy
YouTuber?
by the name of Carl Jobst. And Carl Jobst is like a very, very like minor name within the like kind of the speed running video game record community. He mostly doesn't like submit scores. Like he does, don't get me wrong, but he mostly just kind of follows the news about what's happening in these communities, because every day you've got someone who was exposed for faking a run, or exposed for using dodgy practices, or like in this case, you've got stories where this guy's going around trying to sue the pants off of everybody.
Yeah.
And he puts together these videos about one Billy Mitchell. And he don't get me wrong, he does kind of put his own spin. He does give his own 2 cents. He does, say some I guess inflammatory things. But he always tries to stay very, very grounded in the facts.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because of the first video, I'm trying to find that right now. The first video that he put out, kind of just detailing this guy and calling him, it was like the 2 biggest con men in gaming. It was that guy and another guy by the name of Todd Rogers, who is like another of these very cartoonish characters. And this guy has been just a straight up con man since he came onto the scene. Like his big claim to fame, this Todd Rogers guy, he claimed that on the Activision Atari game Dragster, he claims that in the early 80s, he got a 5.51 world record time. That's never been approached before, never been replicated before. And that's because, as it would later turn out, this one guy, I believe his name is Eric Koziel, analyzed the source
Oh,
code of the game
yeah, I know. I think
and
I know that
said,
name.
but basically he tore apart the source code of the game, and this is a guy who is a speedrunner, and he specializes in tool assisted speedruns, basically putting together things to basically automate speedruns. And he looked
Mm-hmm.
at the code of this game for the Atari Dragster, and he said it is not possible, humanly or otherwise, to get a time of 5.51 seconds. 5.57 is the best you can possibly do.
Hmm.
And that, coupled with the fact that this guy, Todd Rogers, has never replicated the run ever, and has no proof of it other than basically, my proof is that I submitted it to a magazine in the 80s and they published it, so that's the proof,
Mm-hmm.
has basically sort of been banned from competitive leaderboards, and the Guinness World Records organization has removed him from the database completely. And this guy has also tried suing everybody, but the funny thing is, he's so inept that he cannot put together a proper lawsuit, no matter how
Right.
much he keeps trying. And it's just a mess. So, like, while this guy's just like a funny sort of clown, Billy Mitchell kind of seems to be getting what he wants. But again, it's going to be really hard to sue this guy who's, again, a YouTuber. He sued him over one video. Then he sued him again over a separate video, both kind of just talking about just this guy's history and sort of what he was doing back then with these modified boards, or allegedly modified boards.
Right.
And then in the second video, he talks about how he seems to possibly be extorting a protege of him to give him like positive spin during the trial that he's involved in. And so he sued the guy who made the video over that same guy, Carl Jobst. And then he sued him a third time less than a week ago. So, we're here in, the modern day, in the last week. He sued him again over a video that wasn't even about Billy Mitchell. It was about this guy, Carl Jobst, and he created this video that was like a kind of like a joke sort of video,
Mm-hmm.
talking about the time Carl Jobst, cheated in a speed run, and it's titled "I cheated in a speed run and I need to come clean." And
Mm.
it's very hyperbolic. He just essentially says, like, yeah, when I was a dumb kid, I got my mother to send in some bogus scores to like GoldenEye 007 and like Shadow God, what was the Star Wars game for N64? Shadow of the Empire.
Shadow of the Empire? I think so.
I think that's the one.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just like, yeah, I did that when I was dumb and young. And
Mm-hmm.
he includes this one clip that's a meme clip. It's the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can show it here. I'll put it in again.
All right.
Can you just play this? It's just 11 seconds. Can you play this?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
All right, let's see. You might not be able to see it, but
Yeah, just tell me when it's over.
all right, I will.
You're familiar with Billy Mitchell, world video game champion? He could probably do it. So I gotta find a way to harness his power, and I think I found a way.
That's right, we're gonna cheat.
Yeah. So it's just a little goof. It's just a little funny. It's a funny haha. It's just a little
Yeah.
joke. It's as the youths of the day say, Brian, it's a meme.
You might say that.
And this is the only part in the video where Billy Mitchell is mentioned or implied or anything in like a 12-minute video.
Oh, okay.
The third lawsuit is entirely about that.
Whoa. Is it
That's-
because Billy Mitchell thinks that he's being accused of cheating because he's in the part
Yes. He says in no uncertain terms that oh god, let me bring up the exact quote, because it's nuts what this guy says. Like,
yeah.
again, this guy takes himself so bloody seriously.
Yeah.
All right, I found it. I just got it. It's, so he says on 7 May 2022, you posted on the web a further video entitled "I cheated in a speed run. I need to come clean," which read relevantly as follows, and it's the line that we just showed from the meme.
Mm-hmm.
And he then lists the Defamation Act, as in, like, this is what constitutes as defamation, and then basically argues that no, by you including this, you are attempting to defame me. The words in their ordinary and natural meaning meant and were understood to mean: 1. Billy Mitchell is a person who defrauds, deceives, or tricks other people and is a swindler. 2. Billy Mitchell is guilty of fraudulently hoodwinking so as to obtain unfair advantage when competing in video game. The words and the imputations, that's a fancy word, are untrue and are grossly defamatory. He's suing over a meme.
Yeah, he's suing over a meme.
I can't say that enough. He is suing over a meme. And he's looking to get, like, I think this was the same lawsuit. It could either be this lawsuit or the other lawsuit. He's looking for something like almost $500,000
Mm-hmm.
from this YouTuber.
Yeah, sure.
Who says he's already spent over $180,000 in legal, and, like, it's so great that like he has people like Notch going up to bat and helping him for this, because this is just ridiculous. And he's been in this legal battle, I think, for the better part of 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, he's determined to win, I guess. But sad, man. Well, I guess we'll see what comes of all this insanity, but let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. I'm just checking my feed here, and let me look at Rumble rants. No, nothing there. All right.
We got a super chow. We got a super chow.
We do have a super chow. Good. Let me go get it. All right, this is from Anonymous, and they give us $5, and they say, "So now Rumble rants don't work. I'm fine sending you super cross." I guess you mean chow. Look, I thank you for whatever you send it and wherever. It doesn't matter to me. But I don't want to combine all my text into an essay, and the minimum is $5. Just a heads up for Rumble users. And I'm hearing there'd been problems with sending money from Rumble for quite a while. Anyway, for my comment, quote, the undoing of consequences is not new. Shadow the Hedgehog from Sonic Adventure 2 was meant to die, but major fan backlash brought it back. Yeah, and I mean, all of that is, it's a video game, right? I mean, I don't know. I know that there are people who want to, like, maintain the canon. But I could see Sega doing that for Sonic. Although I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know the deep lore of Sonic, so I mean,
on one hand, I can kind of almost appreciate giving the fans what they want.
Yeah.
In terms of, the backlash. I've never really been big into Sonic, so I can't say what happened there for certain.
Right.
But, like, I kind of get that over invalidating consequences over something like, oh, we're just going to do that for plot convenience. Nobody asked for this. Nobody wanted this, but, we're just going to have it happen to say it happened because we can't think of any original way to move the plot forward. Those are definitely on two different levels to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. Like, it's like, I don't think we really need to have a airtight explanation that explains why Bowser keeps coming back, because I think that those games are supposed to be kind of, like silly.
Well,
And
yeah, but I think Sonic was at least trying to go for
it
a
was
halfway
doing,
serious
yeah, I
story.
mean, I think it was, and I always thought that was really strange. But yeah, I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that one to me feels like it walks a line. Like it's like
Yeah,
I think it's for, maybe it's for like 10, 11, 12-year old boys. And that's why it's sort of a cross between, a cute cartoon mascot and something more like Dragon Ball Z, I guess, because everyone's like, changing colors and powering up and stuff. And I don't know what that's about, but I know that they do that in Sonic the Hedgehog for some reason. And it's just something about that game franchise is unique. That's all I'm saying. It's not like Mario, where Mario stays basically the same, and whenever they try to deviate, people get upset. Like Super Mario Sunshine, for example. People were not. I don't. At the time that it was released, people were not thrilled with it.
they weren't.
No, I don't think so.
I
Not when it,
I
because
wow.
what I think they wanted was something more like the old, you know, like platformer, jump on guys' heads kind of thing. There, and I think that, I don't know if it was users that didn't like Mario Sunshine, but um, I mean, like my friends and I liked it because I still have it. But I think that it was probably the critics. I don't know. So, but I think that it's basically all about tone. So, Mario's tone is appears to be for pretty young audiences or people who don't care that they're playing a Mario game, which are basically mature adults, because those games can be challenging. They were definitely had plenty of challenging levels early on in the franchise. Um, so it wasn't like it was made for children, right? But yeah, those old Mario games could be pretty challenging. But I think that the Sonic was trying to have a different audience, maybe so they don't have to compete with Mario, and so they went into this stuff with Metal Sonic and Robot Sonic or Mecha Sonic or whatever. And I don't even know, like I said, I don't even know if you can play as those characters or if they're boss fights or what. I don't know anything about it. So okay, but anyway, those are just my thoughts. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. And again, if you have any other like soundtrack suggestions that we could check out, because I like to listen to game soundtracks when I've got nothing else to listen to, and it looks like it's gonna be pretty quiet online for the rest of the week, so some music would be nice. I thought I saw somebody make a decent suggestion, but I really like the Street Fighter soundtrack.
I did think of another one.
Yeah.
Ever play the game Rez?
Oh yeah. I have it still. Yeah, Rez.
Oh, you do? You have an actual physical copy?
I have a physical PS2 copy.
Those are pretty rare from what I've heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I have it. And it's barely played. I think I played it in the beginning a couple of times. I thought, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to play this some other time. I never got around to it because when I had the PS2 era had so many good games coming out that I probably didn't finish most of them. Because I was just getting bombarded. It was like, but I kept them all. And hopefully, at some point, I'll be able to play them, maybe on an emulator or something. I still have my PS2, but I kind of want to, like play it on an emulator or something if I can find one.
Get one of those old CRT TVs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. I'll need one of those.
Well, it's a little bit better on the older games. Like for example, I saw like what the other day I saw what Final Fantasy VII looks like on a CRT versus like ultra high def,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, you know, it was actually really good back then. That like what was it, 640 by 480 was the best we could do
Yeah.
because the sort of blurriness blended the pixel art and it made it
Yeah.
look smoother.
Yeah.
Whereas if you put everything in ultra high def, you can see every single jagged right angle of the pixels.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That was something that I saw for the first time when I played SNK versus Capcom. I think it was, or Capcom versus SNK 2, and I had this. So I had this TV. It was still a tube TV, but it was being billed as a kind of like higher end, higher resolution TV. So before that, I had the old blurry graphics, you know, that where it was all about like creating the illusion that everything is smooth because they couldn't do better. And then I set up my my newer television, which was still a tube TV, but I guess it had like a way of sharpening everything, and it looked so weird. Like I was like at that time, I was blown away by that. It was weird. So, all right. So somebody asked me if it was a slim. I had a
PS2.
I had a PS2. I don't know if that there was a
There was a PS2 Slim. Like there was the original
yeah.
one. The original one had the disc tray that came out,
Yeah.
and then the Slim just had a lid that popped open, and then you put the disc in there and closed the lid.
I got the original, the fat one.
Yeah.
Because I remember how I would load it, and it's the I have the fat one. I have the fat PS2. I have the fat PS3. I have the fat PS4. Yeah. You know,
I've still got like that old school fat PS3, and that one's great because it's totally backwards compatible with PS1 and 2 games.
Those are worth money.
They're worth money, but I've heard that like they're a real gamble because later in life,
things start breaking down.
The solder starts going, and like I've seen people like buy them online, and like you got to really know what you're doing, but you can resolder them with actual like good quality lead solder.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, you can like expand the life of it almost indefinitely, from what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Which was totally tangentially here, but that was a really big concern because there were a lot of games that only came out for the PS3 and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Like just for an example, Metal Gear Solid 4.
Mm-hmm.
That was a PS3 exclusive, and there was never a remake, never a remaster, never anything like that.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the better ones. I mean, MGS4.
Metal Gear Solid 4 was kind of divisive. It was supposed to be the last one, and it was kind of one big great wrap up. So they had a lot of like, if you want to really get into the nitty gritty, there were some things that people, even the fans, considered as plot
contrivances.
Contrivances. That's the word. I can never say it.
Yeah.
That's where basically nano machines kind of became the answer for everything.
Yeah, I didn't care for that, but I like seeing...
I mean, it's like trying to explain like why some guys can live forever, why there's a fucking immortal vampire. You know, we need one clean explanation. All right, fuck it, nano machines, we'll do it. But it was still a spectacle of a game. It was great. I remember like when I was playing it, that was like the first time I ever felt like I'm playing a next generation video game.
Yeah.
It was great, and I had a blast. And I'm happy that, like, I guess for now, it took them almost an entire decade from when the game came out. It took them that long to, actually, no, almost 2 decades. Wait, when did MGS4 come out? That was, I want to say 2005?
Is it that
2008. 2008.
Okay.
So yeah, it was 10 years to the date, because it was back in 2018 when it started first becoming preliminary, but there was actually a team that got together and was able to emulate it
Right.
on PC. But they warned, they said, hey, look, you're going to need some absolute shit hot PC equipment to be able to run this. And I think they've made it a little bit more manageable. But man, I've seen this one guy who did a full playthrough of it. And he was able to do it in 4K at 60 FPS. And the game just looks phenomenal.
Oh, are there videos online?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, he did a whole playthrough. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. MGS4 emulation.
Well, that's pretty
Emulator
cool.
PC.
I'm gonna wrap.
Ooh, the Rex Ravi. That's a good one.
Okay. I'm gonna wrap.
Just skip to just the middle and just show it off here.
All right. Yeah. Let's do that. Okay, cancel. Just skip to the middle.
Just any part, like around 3 and 4 minutes, somewhere around there. Make sure it's on high quality.
I'm just gonna turn the sound really low. Let's go right here. So this is where you're playing as a Metal Gear Rex.
Well, it's Solid Snake versus Ocelot, and you're both piloting these things. He's got the Ray, and you've got the old school Rex.
Which, yeah. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah.
All right.
I've been meaning to look into how this emulation works, but emulation always scares the crap out of me because there's so much stuff you have to do.
I'm sorry, guys. I didn't display it for you all. I just looked at it myself.
Damn it, Brian.
I'll play a little bit of this.
Yeah.
You didn't miss much before, anyways. Who's saying that? I forgot. Is that Meryl?
What?
Somebody's saying incoming.
Around
it's like
where?
A woman's. Well, they're.
Oh no, that's
fighting.
that's Otacon. That's Otacon.
Oh, okay.
Your anime obsessed tech buddy.
Yeah. All right.
And it's funny, like they put together this whole thing, and it's like it's only used for like 10 minutes in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of moments in these games. That's one of the reasons why, like, I enjoy playing the Metal Gear games.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I'm like, do I really want to play? Because I'll get like this urge to play through it again, and I'm like, yeah, but do I really want to sit through all these cinematics, especially Metal Gear Solid 4, which has like a movie at the end, and I think, MGS5 to a lesser degree, I think.
Well, MGS5 they had a complete dearth of cutscenes.
Yeah,
which is
essentially
it's funny. That's what people claimed they wanted, but then people were like, "Well, wait, where's my story?"
Yeah, and also I think a lot of the problems with 5, which I can forgive, are that I guess Kojima didn't, like, either he ran out of time or he wasn't he wasn't able to tell the story the way he wanted. Like the whole bit with Skullface, there was supposed to be a lot more, and it just didn't happen. So
there was supposed to be a bit of an epilogue that showed you what happens to Eli, what happens to Sahelanthropus, and all that stuff, but they ended up cutting that essentially, which would have been like the last 2 to 3 hours of the game, and would have wrapped everything up nicely. You can go like watch it. Like they had the cutscenes about 70% done, and everything was there. They just had to do like lip syncing and actually put the level together. But the The concept art was there. The levels, to a rough extent, are there. Everything was set up. They just, I guess, said, "Look, you're just taking way too long on this," and this was kind of just a running theme with that again. That goes into my Konami Kojima rant, where they gave him so much time and so much money, and I guess, again, this is just my understanding, but the way Japanese hierarchies work in companies is, if you're given a year and $1 million, you finish in 9 months with 200,000 to spare. The thing that you do not do is you ask for another year and $3 million.
Okay.
And that was what Kojima was famous for, taking forever and costing a lot of money. Now, that being said, he always delivered. He always basically proved that, yeah, it was worth it. The time and money investment, you're going to get triple what you put in. But that's just not how you do business in Japan. And a lot of people in the company, especially the higher-ups, really looked down on him for that. And that's why they cut him off from his team, kind of humiliated him a bit, and then ousted him.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, was a total shame. Because, he was definitely doing things that made money. He was always a good earner, and that's why I'm kind of glad that he got snapped up by what is he basically just working for Sony now, and that's when he made Death Stranding, which isn't a game for everybody, but is definitely a game that you can tell he made that game.
He wanted to make it, yeah. And there are definitely people that will buy it, have bought it, will play it. I'm not one of them. But my wife,
I played it. I got your wife played it.
No, she's never played it. But whenever I see some gameplay footage of this guy like running around, Lindsay goes, "I think I kind of want to play that," and I'm like, "Okay, well, shell out the money. Go ahead." I could see her liking it.
Well,
I think she might, and that she might. Because, I think that she likes, I don't know, like games where you have to like organize things, and I think that it's got
there's a lot of that.
Yeah, it's got a lot of that in it. So, all right. Anyway, I gotta go. Speaking of the wife, I gotta go pick her up. So thanks, guys, for coming on today's show. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about in the comments. If you guys like this video, please smash like. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed. And most importantly, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you all so much for coming on today's episode of the Nerdcast, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.